Hey everybody, I am coming to you with a pre-recorded video tonight because I ended up having some last minute plans. So I am going to use various products. Some are on retirement, and I have one of the new paper pads here for August. I'm going to use the Autumn Harvest Stamp and Die set. This is on the retirement sale. There are some in stock, so if you want them, stop over and get them. Everything is linked down below in the description box. And then I'm also using the Grateful 2x3 Stamp and Die set. And I think I'm going to use the Sentiment. I just haven't decided that quite yet. So if you want these, like I said, head over to the retirement sale or click on the links below. I will tell you any links that I have down below are affiliate links, which just means that if you click on the link and place an order, I get a small little kickback for that, and it's at no cost to you. So just a little disclaimer there. So let's get started. I think this is fabulous. I love the decor on them. You can see I have some left over here, the little patterns, or you've got the straight pumpkins, and then you've got your little pumpkin top pieces, which I have my other little piece here. I think it fell off. It's probably here on my desk now that I'm gonna have to find that little piece because I just had it. But I'm gonna go ahead and stick that back inside. Just happened to notice that. Oh no. All right. Oh, there's my little pumpkin piece. Here it is. It fell off. And I was being a little crazy, so I'm just gonna stick that in there. And then I have it all set up here in my Misty and all of those little stamps because they all coordinate so well. This is some alabaster cardstock, and I'm going to use some Stellar ink in Guppy and the autumn finishing veil. Now, if this goes out of stock, there wasn't a ton left of this. You could use fairy dust or icicle, but I like the autumn finishing veil because it has that fun little glittery color. You'll see that here in a few minutes. It's kind of like a covering, a coating. It's just beautiful. We had a few different finishing veils over the last year or so, and this one I believe is one of the last ones that was in stock. Everything was in stock as of Thursday when I recorded this video. So there I just did some anti-static powder tool, and I will tell you, I love these Stellar ink pads. They are foam, so you get very good coverage. You don't have to touch. You usually don't have to stamp more than once. So I'm going to go ahead and just stamp these down, and I think they're just beautiful. Now, it's super juicy, so I'm going to go ahead. I think I'm going to do it one more time just because these stamps are fairly new. I've only used them a couple of times, even for me. I mean, they're new for me. I've only used them a couple of times, and so they haven't been conditioned all the way. So I'm just going to kind of fill in there. They don't need to be perfect, but try to get a smooth focus. Now, I don't push very hard with the Stellar inks. I barely top them. Okay, so I'm going to pull that off. And then I have a fan going here, so it'll be funny to see if we have a big problem here in just a second. And I very quickly cover this. I'm going to do it quickly because here comes my fan with the autumn finishing veil. Hopefully the fan it cooled off tremendously here in Iowa today, but it's still a little warm upstairs in my craft room, just because I didn't have the windows upstairs open as much as I did downstairs below today. So the autumn finishing veil comes in our little brown envelopes like the rest of our limited edition embossing powders and embossing powders of the month. I always buy the 6-pack of the wide mouth jars to put them in, and then because I like to keep them that way. So I'm going to quickly heat set this, and you will see how beautiful these colors are. So I am not going to be able to be in the chat today while this video is premiering. However, if you can chat amongst yourselves. I will watch the replay. I will post these photos also on Saturday in the fan club group on my Instagram. And if you have any questions, you can feel free to leave them in the comments, and I will answer them, or on one of my posts. All right, so I just had to show you. Look at, isn't that beautiful? I don't know if you can see the finishing veil, but it's so pretty. Now I'm gonna let it cool down for just a minute and move my inks off to the side, and we're gonna get my little sidekicky thing out here, my little Sizzix sides cook. It's a workhorse. We're gonna go ahead and, this is the only die cutting I really should have to do on camera because I did some of the others. Wasn't sure how long this video was going to be today, but I really wanted to just film it in real time and not do a voiceover and speed it up, because I thought to me, it's nicer. So I hope everyone had a fabulous week. I am, like I said, so glad the temperatures finally cooled down here in Iowa for the next couple of days. So I look forward to spending some time outside with my pup and my honey. So it is August 1st, so that means there is a new release, or new subscription products. They are available now on the website. If you go under subscriptions, I will link the pick 5 in my description box below, which is where you can go and you can pick the different 5 of them. We have the inspiration box, which this month we have an inspiration box. We have a 2x3 stamp set, which is the stamp club of the month. There's the stamp club plus, which gives you a little extra something that goes with the 2x3. I'm not 100% positive off the top of my head right now what that is while I was filming this. We have an embossing powder of the month that I saw looked beautiful. And we have a stencil of the month, which as soon as I saw it this afternoon, I was talking with Heather, and I asked her what was the stencil of the month. Well, I was getting things, ready for the design team, and it's one that I know is going to be a favorite of mine. It's going to go in a little binder. I have a little 6x6 cookie binder from Amazon that a friend of mine introduced me to. I think that might have, I don't know if it was Sandy. No, I don't remember who it was. It was somebody that another crafter that was talking about them, and I bought them, and I have a couple of them filled, but I don't have all of them. I have a couple more to do, and I have all my favorite stencils in one binder. Doesn't matter if they're retired or where they come from, they're just my go-to favorites. And this stencil of the month this month is going to be in that one because it is stunning. And then of course we have our paper pad of the month, which of course is another fabulous paper pad, and that is only available during this limited time. And then we have what did I miss? Oh, the premium stamp of the month. So those are some of the subscriptions. I think I mentioned all of them, and you can get the whole shebang, and some of them are available as a one-off, and some of them are not only available through the subscription. And then we also have a new incentive stamp this month where if you place $60, you will automatically earn that stamp. It is never going to be sold or released. So if you want that, you need to place a $60 order, and it will automatically add itself to its cart, or it'll automatically add it to your cart, and it's really a cute. Here's the solid pumpkins. I did these in gilded on vellum. I might even pull those out. And then I have another 2 here. I think this might be lemon drop. I don't know if I'm going to use those. When I make extras, if I don't use them, I just stick them in my stamp pockets. And I get my stamp pockets off Amazon. I like them, and I stick, when I am done with my subscription box, what I do, well, even before, I guess, to be honest with you, what I do is, let's put this one back here, is that I put my stamp of the month, any coordinating products, if they're dies or stencils that match, and my big box stamp all together in one envelope. So that way I don't have the little stamps just kind of floating around because these coordinate so well with it. So I just stick them all together, and then I have them all. If I want them, I can find them, and I don't have to go around looking for that little one. So, okay, so next, we're gonna do a little bit of ink blending. There was only a few of these left in stock, but they were in stock as of yesterday. I have the Acorn and Twigs and the Harvest Foliage die set here. And I pulled a little bit of them so that we'd have a little bit of extra like texture for our card. And I want to get all of this done first, kind of before we get into the putting our card together. So I'm just going to grab a piece of white scratch paper here, and we're going to do a little ink blending. This is alabaster cardstock. My die cut machine was being kind of dumb, so it did cut this one a little wonky, but it's going to work. I am going to just go ahead and ink blend them, and I grabbed Stellar ink, Over the Moon, and Weeping Willow, because that is going to go with our paper pad, which I will actually talk about that right now. So I have the Pumpkin Spice paper pad. This is a new paper pad. Now I'm going to say that mine is a sample, so mine is different than what yours is going to be, and that is only in the senses that yours they're double-sided, but I just have a few pieces, and these are the pieces that I kind of pulled from my stamp set that I thought would be fun to play with. And I'm going to use, I haven't decided if I want this pumpkin spicy one or if I want this pumpkin one, but I like the coffee beans too. So I was kind of leaning towards these two, but I know I'm pulling in these other colors now. So I'm actually think I'm going to go with these two now that I have pulled in some other colors. And even though this yellow is a little bit lighter, I know the brown and the orange, and yes, it's a lighter orange, but it's still going to work. So I'm going to grab some of my signature brushes from Christopher Allen here, my number 8, and I'm going to go ahead and just do a little ink blending on these. You know, it doesn't have to be perfect. You can use a big brush if you want. I'm just going to use this little brush because I don't care if it gets super dark. I want the different colors to be easy to see. I think if that makes sense. Like I want there to be texture and different saturation levels of these images. I have some leaves. I have a couple acorns, and a couple of little squiggly like vine things. So I'm just going to use them. I mean, you could easily cut these out of cardstock that matches, or coordinated or something like that. But I am just going to go ahead and ink blend them because I think that for me is what I want. So, and we're going to ink blend these leaves, and actually you can always go direct to cardstock. I'm not even sure if I was on camera there. Had to sit down while I was ink blending because it's just a little too hard to do that while I'm standing, but let's see if I can do that. Trying to make sure I stay on camera. I'm not used to having the camera just right above me. I'm used to having, live streaming, but and usually then I can see what I'm doing on screen. So this is Over the Moon. It's a little bit lighter, kind of a yellowy orange, but it's just going to give us that little bit of extra lightness. I'm okay with a little bit of white spots. It doesn't have to be perfect. The white gives it some, highlights and dimension and things like that. I still have a little thing kind of push this out, but you'll see when we get there. And maybe I will go direct to paper with this one as well, just to give it that little bit of different. And then for my last items, I wanted to do these ones the same way. And I am going to go direct to paper. And I think what we're going to do for this one with this, you could use Shooting Star if you wanted a yellow, but I didn't have like yellow in this so much as I had cream and white. So I thought, well, we would go with kind of a yellowy orange here. Like I said, I'm being very, very loose with my color. Now I will say, when you have the difference between having, this is this is the felt pad, and this, I'll show you, here is the foam pad. This one is juicy compared to this one. Just means I might have to push in a little bit more to get ink for this one. This one, I barely have to touch. I barely touch it. I kind of just rub a little bit on, and then I sometimes even just tap it off because you get a little bit too much of that color. And I'm just gonna add a little bit of this orange to this, just to give it some difference than the other leaves. And then I'm gonna go ahead and use the Weeping Willow on these acorns and stem things. I'm really not gonna add any green. I mean, I could, but I didn't really wanna add another color if I could help it. So I have really enjoyed having these Stellar ink pads. So if you haven't had those yet, I suggest, you know, if you're a little nervous about them, try one or two. Get one in your favorite color, or fill in. If you have the Simon Harley inks, you guys, you know me, they're my favorite. I'm just gonna rub this in really deep on that, on the acorn part. So it's really dark there, and it will dry back. But he had 4 new colors. He had the 100% juice and the, I can't remember all of the colors. There was 100% juice, Black Widow, 4, and one more here. What was it called? It was called High Tide. High Tide. They are the film pads, and they are not available with the felt pad. So if you wanted to just try one or two, get one of those two, and then you can compare them. I am excited. I have the whole set of felt pads, and now I'm excited to slowly, as he releases, get the foam pads as well. I just find they're easier for stamping, in my opinion, because I don't have to press as hard. Same thing with ink blending, or if you want to go direct to paper, like to make a matte of this color, you can just swipe it on, and it, excuse me, it doesn't take, I would say, as much work per se. I mean, it's not work, but you know, it's very simple to just be able to swipe it there. So I'm okay with this being just like kind of grungy. I might go back here, I think, and add just a little bit of this orange to my, I'm gonna add just a little bit of the orange to this up here, just to make it a little bit different color-wise. And you can see here where I'm just tapping off. Now, a lot of times I'll tap up on my glass mat so that I can, like that, so that I can go back and pick up that ink, or I'll use my pigment palette to do that. But this time today, I just had this piece of paper out, so. All right, so there, we've got all of them. I'm gonna put them off the side to dry now, and we are going to start assembling our card. First thing I'm gonna do though is grab some squeaky clean here and make sure my fingers are nice and clean, and a little bit of my paper. Now, all the paper pads usually have, like I said, mine is a sample, so there is no, I don't have my printing on this side. They have the colors that match. Like I said, I have just a few colors. I just have a few pieces to play with. For samples, I have my regular pad coming. And I believe it matches with gingerbread, but I pulled out the macchiato because it's a little bit lighter. It's a little bit not quite as dark as the gingerbread, but I knew, I was kind of looking at the different stocks that we had, and I think we had a little bit more macchiato, but any brown paper would work. You know, it's just a kind of a deep, dark brown. So I have a 4 1/4 by 11 a sheet of paper. So I just took my 8 1/2 sheet of paper and cut it in half. And I'm going to go ahead and score this at 3 1/2, or I'm sorry, 2 1/2, 2 1/2. So I'm going to score it 2 1/2, and then I'm going to score it 5 1/2. Okay. So I will bring this up here again so you can see that. I scored it. I have a 4 1/4 by 11, and I scored it 2 1/2 and 5 1/2. So basically I scored it in half, and then I scored this one almost in half again. Not quite. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and fold this over and use my bone folder to burnish the edge. And I am gonna, you can do this later, but I just find it easier to fold it over right away. And then if your folds are not perfect, you can line them up in your cutter and just cut them off. I've found that my big cutter needs a new blade. So I have a little bit of kind of rough edges on my one side of my card. And this is my Cardbase. So I just have this sanding block. This one is from Tailored Expressions. But you can just get any kind of sanding block like this. I think they're for nails, to be honest with you. And you can have that. And it will rub those off. So what we need to do is we need some sort of double-sided tape. You can use glue tape for this, but I prefer, and of course I just moved it, and I don't see where I moved it to. So let me grab my tape. I have 2 or 3 of these open at all time. I just have some score tape. I have the 8-inch. What I recommend you doing is finding a tape. We're making a gift card holder, and I, of course, did not bring anything with me that's a gift card of any kind with me tonight. But you can use your gift card holder, and you put your gift card. Before we do that, we almost messed it all up. You want to know how much it measures, but I am going to use a 1-inch punch. You can use a die, and I'm just going to put a little finger hole in here just because I feel like that helps. And I just eyeball it. That just helps with the finger. You know, get your finger in there to get your card out. And I'm going to go ahead and put down some score tape on each side. And then I am also going to grab some here, and I'm going to put it down here a little bit. And that's only because I don't necessarily, this is optional. But in case, you know, once in a while, your gift card might fall down all the way and it might be harder to get out. So I just decided I would put that in a little bit so that it can kind of stick up, kind of prevent it from doing that. And then I just burnish it with my bone folder, and then I can peel it all off. I mean, we're ready to start decorating this card. It's not going to take much. And then I'm just going to fold it over in half. And then I will take a picture and show what it looks like with the gift card in it. But I forgot to grab one before I started filming, and they're downstairs. So, all right, so there we have our card. There's our card base. So I'm going to grab another piece of cardstock. This is not cardstock. Just looking for a lightweight piece of cardstock. Well, I guess we're just going to use. So you could use a piece like of alabaster or something. This is either alabaster or Not Your Mama's. I usually have to pull them out so I can tell what color wise. It feels like it's Not Your Mama's because it's thicker, but I already have it cut down, and I'm going to cut this down to 4 by 5 1/4. And actually, I might trim it down just a hair on the inside of that. And I will tell you why that in just a minute. And same thing with the 4, just a hair. Okay. And then while we have our piece out, this is the inside of our card so that I can write on it because I'm using a dark card base. If you were using white, you wouldn't necessarily need this. And of course, now I have my pattern paper. Now, this is directional pattern paper. So I need to make sure that I am going the right direction. And so I want my pattern paper to go like this. So I'm going to cut it this way first because I know this is 4 1/4, so I need it at 4 inches. This one is not necessarily as directional, so it's not as important because it's coffee beans where these are. So I'm going to stack them up together, and I'm going to cut them at 4 inches, and I will put the measurements down below in the description box for you guys. And then I need 2 pieces at 2 3/4 of an inch. And that is really all the pattern paper that we need. So I made a bunch of these tonight very quickly. And I am choosing to use 2 different patterns because I want to. I think it's fun. You could totally use the same piece and then match it up, and it would totally work. But I want to do 2 different pieces. So we have these for our card. So we're going to start putting this together, and then we're almost there. So let us grab some tape runner. You can use liquid glue if you want. You really can't use foam tape for this part so much because you need this to be flat. And I'm just eyeballing it with my, eyeballing it a little bit. I'm okay with it, with my thing being a little wider on this side than on this side because I cut it, remember, a little bit narrow so that I made sure when I put my piece of paper over the top of this, it covers that whole white. So then I'm going to go ahead and do this. And this, like I said, your paper, your pattern paper will be double-sided. So you'll have to choose. This is, like I said, just a couple samples that I was sent to use. And so mine are not double-sided right now, just so that I could make a couple of samples up right away. And then I'm going to go ahead and do this one. And get this one in here. And I'm just eyeballing all the way around for my colors. You could do either one. You could do the coffee beans on this side and the coffee cup. Because I figure that we have a coffee shop here in town that I can get a gift card for a coffee and put it inside and bring this as a gift. And it's pumpkin spice season, so school's starting. I could send this to a teacher with, hey, have some caffeine on me. I don't have kids in school anymore, so, they don't have a teacher, but, that would be something else. All right, so now I have a piece of jack-o'-lantern. And I did put this in the link. This is a 11 by an inch, and we're just going to make a belly band. This is totally optional. I am going to just do it as straight as I can, and I'm just holding it, and I'm okay if it's not going to match. I'm just going to bend it. Instead of scoring it, I'm going to bend it. And I'm going to try to make it as straight as possible, but I can fix that when I get over and I end up putting it together. And I'm just going to bend it so that if I score it, I find it tends to be tighter. If you bend it, it tends to be able to slide on and off a little easier. And then what we're going to do is we're going to decorate this. Now, the one thing I wasn't 100% sure I was going to do, and I should have, is we have to do one more quick die cut, okay? I am going to quickly cut out a circle. So I am going to grab my die cut machine, and I'm going to grab my last piece. I have a piece of that macchiato here, and I want to circle die. You could use any die you want. This one looks good to me. Any shape, any size. I'm just gonna grab a circle die because I decided, since we're using all these little pumpkins, if you're using a bigger like stamp and die cut, you'll see that on one of my samples. You don't have to use a circle or a shape, but I'm gonna, because I have all these little pieces for my belly bands here, I want to make sure that they're gonna shut. Okay, so I have this belly band here, and we're gonna go ahead and put that on. So I'm gonna go ahead and put a little glue on both sides. And then I may stick a little liquid glue on there too. I overglued. With my tape runner, it's easy. I can just pull it back. And then I'll just grab a little bit of liquid glue, because I can throw a little more on once I get my circle on there. Stick my circle on. I mean, if you have a coffee stamp set, you could do an image for that. There's all sorts of things that you could do with this instead. I am going to just add the pumpkins and fall because I'm so ready for fall. And I like the colors, and I just love this stamp set. So that looks pretty good. So now we can go ahead and decorate. So we're going to go ahead and just start putting some of our pumpkins on here. And like I said, I think I might throw one of these gold ones in just because I had them and I didn't realize I did. And I think maybe we'll do this guy down here. So let's move this off to the side. And then we can start kind of tucking in some of our foliage. So what I'm going to do is we're going to add just a little tape down the center. Now, make sure I'm on camera for you guys. And I'm going to put that up a little bit higher. And then I'm going to put some foam tape, and I think I need some. I usually keep my little samples on my desk, but are my little extra pieces, but I think I'm out. So I'll cut this. We're gonna foam adhesive the pumpkins here. Sorry, I put that in my mouth. Let's stick this guy here. And I know I've got this squash, so maybe I'll use the squashy pumpkin here instead, because, you know, just to break up the colors and things like that, and the shapes. Just adds a little more interest. I'll stick this guy in. I'm gonna put him in kind of, yeah, we'll overlap them a little bit. So we've got those, our basics. We've got our extra 2 pumpkins. Maybe we'll put them inside. We'll get to that. Now let's just kind of start playing. So what I'm going to do is, because this one kind of got messed up by my die cut machine, I'm going to try to stick him underneath. And I think I may even just do some surgery on him and just cut him off. You can do surgery on your pumpkins and then we're going to just kind of play a little bit here. This is the fun part. You can just stick in and see what you think. And I think I'm going to go for it. Sometimes I know people like to kind of stick them all in there and see. We're going to move that out to the side. But yeah, it's just paper. So just go for it. Play around a little bit. I've got another one of these leaves here. And I'm just adding a little glue to the back side like this. And that way when I go to stick it under and in, you know, the little pieces, I probably should use a little bit less foam tape on that. But just a little bit here and there. And then we've got these beautiful longer ones that I think I'm going to stick off to the side. We're going to probably do a little surgery on this guy, because I want him to just stick out a little bit. And I'm only going to put glue down the center so much. So this one I'm zhuzhing up a lot. The other samples that I made, I didn't really go to too much town on. I just made a quick few samples just showing you some other options, which I will share here at the end. Go ahead and stick this guy in here. And then we've got our little curly cues we can stick in and off. You can even cut them down. I think I'm going to go ahead and stick this guy in first here. I have to pull this up a little bit. I can. Just going to let him just kind of stick out. And then I think this curly cue I'm going to cut down. And all I'm going to do is I'm going to snip it right there, which will actually give me 3 little curly cues then. And then this little end that is kind of ugly, I can stick in however I want. And you're not going to even see that part of the curly cue. And I'm not gluing it all down. I'm just gluing a little spot here and there. And then I think we're going to snip this guy down I'm just going to snip it like that. Of course, I forgot to poke that little hole out. I think we're going to stick him in here. Yeah, let's kind of cut this part off right there too. And we'll stick this down in here. We got another one of these other leaves here that's the same color. We're going to stick him in there too. I'll stick him in over here. And of course we have our acorns. And these are the big, they're pretty big acorns, but I think I'm okay with them being a little bigger, but I don't really necessarily want to cover up my pumpkins because I have that beautiful design on there. So we may just use one of these. And I'm thinking he's going to go over here because I have a little bit more real estate. And we'll just kind of tuck them in like that. Even though that little bit of, that's the same color there for that curly cuey thing, actually maybe we'll pull him out. We'll pull him out. Let's stick him, I'm going to actually trim him. And we're going to stick him down underneath. So that's the nice thing about using liquid glue, is that if you're not 100% positive, you can kind of pull them in and stick them out. Stick him in there, kind of like that. And then, you know, you've got another little curly cue thingy here we can stick in here if we want. But I think I'm kind of liking it just the way it is like this. I mean, we've got these other little leaves here that I probably could do some very easily. You just round the edges of where they're not meeting anymore, and I can stick it in, and that's what I think I'm going to do with this one, just because I have it. You do your little surgery carefully. And there we go. We have our, look at that beautiful belly band. Now you could add some extra sparkle to this with spraying it with like some chroma mist, like the ornament golds, but I think I'm going to leave it just how it is. And then I am going to, let's get our Misty out here because I'm going to stamp a sentiment inside. I'm just going to stick it in here. Throw my magnet down just to kind of hold it. And we're going to use that stamp set, that little stamp set. And we're going to grab that Grateful for You. We'll stick it down right here. I mean, you can stick it right in the center, but I think I want to stick it down here at the bottom. Just because then I have a little bit more room up here to write my message. And then I'm going to very, very, very carefully use the Stellar ink. I'm not sure how well you can see this on camera, but I'm just going to very lightly tap it. And I can see that I got an okay coverage. And then I'll just lightly tap it with my fingers. Oh yeah, I got a pretty good stamp. I'm going to do it one more time though, just to be safe. And I barely, I just went, barely touched that to the stamp because it's a sentiment stamp and it's delicate wording. And then I'm just kind of tapping with my finger and not pushing down. We've got that awesome Grateful for You. And then we've got these extra pumpkins here and this extra, so I have two, you know, I can put them here. I can put one, I can kind of put them, I'm thinking what I might do is just put them in right here. And I think that's kind of fun to, you know, I'm going to cover up this a little bit, but I think we're just going to put them right here for some extra little zhuzhin on our card. And we'll use some liquid glue. Just to kind of, I'm going to kind of tip him a little bit this way. And then we'll tip this guy the other way. And I think what we'll do is I kind of want to stick this guy back behind because he's pretty, but I like the color of my pumpkins. Actually, maybe what we'll do is we'll put him down here. Let's put him down here in this corner. That's what we'll do. And then I'm going to quickly slip on my belly band. Now that's why I said it's a little tight because I glued it a little bit tighter than I should have, but it works. You just had to bend it in a little bit. And look at how fun this is. What a fun card. I mean, we've got this other pumpkin here that I could put in. Maybe we could totally stick. Actually, why don't we do that? We'll put that one there and yeah, let's do that. Okay, let's move this guy up a little bit because I want to use up what I got. We're going to move him here. And then we'll go ahead and grab our little acorn here. And we're going to kind of just put him right there. And there, we've got, what a fun, beautiful card. You could do all sorts of decorating, but great Christmas ideas, birthday cards. So here's our finalized card. I'm going to just go ahead and pull that off. And then you open it up inside and your gift card fits right in there. Your little message is right there. Well, how fun is that? So let us put that back together and let me show you a couple other samples that I made. So I made one for, with the Sunflower Sorbet set. I believe the stamp set is sold out, but I believe the paper pad is still available and that paper pad is beautiful. So you would not have to do any kind of decorating or find another, if you have any kind of flower in your stash. I didn't do a lot of decorating on this one. For this belly band, I just used an extra little strip and I didn't go all the way around. You could. It's just a leftover piece. And then I didn't do any decorating on the inside. But what I did is I learned, this was my first one I made, and I did not put the white piece down first. So there was a little spot there. So I just took a little piece of scrap, and that's why there's a small piece left to put there to cover up my seam. But that is that one. I mean, I didn't add any bling or anything to that. So you could make that zhuzhed up. And then I used the Gnome Books, is that what it's called, from last month. And then this is the paper pad, not the study hall. This was Hall Pass, I believe. And in one of our older dies, the Elegant Eggs die, and the Poison Apple. And that is that one. So that one's very simple. And you could do more. I didn't put any sentiments on there. And then I made a birthday card using, this is from the CYOE release. This was the Birthday Bears, Sweet Birthday Bears, I think. The stamp, there's a matching stencil and the paper pad. And this is phone book cardstock. So in here is where I showed, see where I have it just a little bit of a white edge because I did not cut it. I did not cut it down. I should have cut it down just a hair shorter than the 4 by 5 1/4. But it's okay, it works because it's kind of equal on both sides. And so I didn't do belly bands for any of these. So you don't have to do belly bands. I mean, they're still going to fit in a card and they'll still, you know, they'll stand up on their own. You can add more bling and all this, but I hope you enjoyed this and give me a thumbs up and all that good stuff. And I will see you next week. Thank you so much for joining me. Bye now.